It would be wrong to give all this praise to the Superman movie without talking about what's happening in the Superman books. So I do want to start off by saying Superman is probably in the best place I've seen it in years. I'm talking the main book. That book is killing it. It's been consistent from Dawn of DC to where it was doing its own thing. You know, we did have the little tie into Absolute Power, but now we're in the all-in era where this book is essentially leading the fucking charge in a way I have not expected the Superman book to do. It's gotten to the point where on my way to New York, I read Superman and I read Justice League. The way those books were bouncing on top of each other and just like connecting, and the story that we are setting up towards, this is some good shit. And I feel like Superman is kind of underrated right now, which is crazy to say, but it's kind of underrated right now. But how are we feeling about the Superman comic books right now? Well, mainly the main Superman book. How y'all feeling?
I'm loving it. If it was either Green Arrow or Superman, I think Williamson picked the right book. Leaving Green Arrow.
Get out! Get out! Get out! Get out!
I mean,
how dare you? I'm playing.
I'm keeping it a stack. I think Condon's story has been better than a lot of what Williamson did on Green Arrow. Williamson got the family back together, and that's good for you know your feels and stuff. But it wasn't a ton of actual story. It was getting the family together, and then it was Absolute Power set up.
Yeah.
Here we're getting an Ollie story, bro. And so I think Williamson has been much stronger on Superman.
Agreed.
From like you say, from Dawn of DC, Holland stuff. I just think he's doing better work there. I think part of that is probably he was getting spread a little thin between the DC stuff and the Incursion universe stuff. And also, you got to remember, until Wade kind of is taking over that role, he was show running the DC books for a while. Mm-hmm. So I think something had to give. I'm glad that Superman is the book he stuck it out on, because he's been doing some really good stuff, the Lex stuff, the Maryland Moon Knight stuff, the Graph and Farm stuff, how they done it to where Superman, how his rage is kind of setting off on. It's not a new power set, but he's more influenced by rage at times when stuff just like really starts to hit the fan. I'm loving that stuff. Then you got the tie-ins with how all of that is going to connect to the Absolute Universe stuff. We're about to see Darkseid, his Legion of, what are they? Are they called Legion of? I can't remember what, because they're not Legion of Superman.
The Legion of Darkseid.
Yes, thank you, Legion of Darkseid. So we're about to see how that stuff is connecting with Superman. Like, that book is in a really good place right now. Oh shit, I'm forgetting everything they did with Lois.
Oh and, my gosh, yes.
Like yeah, I just think that the Superman book has been some of Williamson's best DC work in a while, and I think a large part of that is him. Like, he's still doing some show running, but he has other people to take the brunt of that task. So he's able to be a little more nimble with his storytelling, and it's paying off. Like, Superman is probably his best book of his. I want to say since the early stuff he was doing on Flash back in Rebirth. So yeah, like I'm loving Superman right now.
I think it's his best work since being at DC. Like, I will give him credit on Flash. I forgot who I was having a conversation. It might have been Blackwing, but I'm going to give him credit on Flash because I think that was one of the only books at the time that survived the tumultuous times at DC.
Yeah.
It went through Rebirth. It went through DC Universe.
He did 100 issues, right?
He did 100 issues.
Yeah.
So, and sure, there were some hits and misses there, but like, Not too many writers can say they were able to hold a book together during that time. We lost a lot of books during that time. We lost Red Hood at 50.
It relaunched, I think.
We lost Green Arrow at 50. We lost a lot of books during that time, but Flash stayed consistent.
Know who else he didn't lose?
What else?
Batman.
Oh, valid. We, even though it got cut off
I'm
at.
just talking shit.
No.
I gotta keep pushing the agenda.
You're right though. You're right, because if we're gonna keep it a fat stack, like King's Batman and Williamson, they roughly had kind of like a same issue count, minus 15 issues. So I'm gonna give him a lot of credit on Flash, and he did some things after that I enjoyed, but my thing with Williamson was just like, you can't stay on a book to save your life, and I thought that was gonna be this case with Superman, but no, he has stayed on Superman. The book has stayed consistent, and one thing I will always give the book praise on is that it is good at telling a Superman story. The Superman world is growing, but also at the back end, we are dealing with all the absolute stuff. So, unlike a Green Arrow where you can say, sure, yes, the family was back together, but you can also say it was mainly an absolute power tie-in book at the same time.
But Williamson told us that he was doing that for fan service for himself.
Yes.
He had been very candid about saying, hey, this is about me course correcting shit that should have been corrected during the New 52 launch. That should have been corrected during Rebirth. I think that was the point of Green Arrow. I think Superman, he has more. He's breaking new ground.
Yes.
In a way.
Yes. Agreed. Like Supercorp, I feel like that's like a staple now. Everything that's happening with Lex, I didn't expect it to stick the way it did, but it's sticking, and it's good. I thought Superwoman was just gonna be like a, something they kind of just like brushed by, but like that was a pretty compelling story. I feel like Superman has forced Williamson to become an even better storyteller. Not just focus on events. Not just focus on, okay, let me just get this thing going on for a couple months and I'm going to leave. No, it's like he's actually putting boot to ass and telling a good story here. And like, I think in an omnibus, this is going to read amazing. Like, even if you're not following the absolute stuff, you could brush out to the side. Oh, cool. But because it's happening, it adds on to the story. I think this is like a top 3 book at DC right now. And to see how Superman was in the mud a couple years ago, right? And I've said this here, I pretty sure before, I didn't like Peter Tomasi's Superman. I didn't like it. Mm-hmm. It wasn't for me. This was a little bit too wholesome. And I dropped the book like right after I got the Super Sons issue when they first met, and then I left the book. And then, we had the Bendis era, which wasn't terrible all the way, but then, that happened. And then, Philip Kennedy Johnson did his thing. But I feel like this is the best the book has been since 2016. And I think the only book that has rivaled this, the only 2 books that has rivaled this, Dan Jurgens' Action Comics Rebirth. I am waiting for DC to put out an omnibus for that. I will always keep championing for that because it's a crime that it hasn't happened yet. Number 2 is Warworld. Those are the only 2 Superman related books that has, in the last like 10 or 15 years, that can hold a fire to what's happening now. And I think Williamson was the good choice for Superman because who else could have taken it? Nobody.
They're stable now. I don't think so.
Nobody. Say what you want. Like Williamson and Dan Mora, great combo. And even Williamson and Eddie Burroughs. So when Dan is busy doing other shit, Eddie Burroughs is handling the art, and Eddie Burroughs is fucking drawing his ass off too. We can talk a little bit about this. I know I talked about it in the group chat, but there's a crisis coming. I smiled on the bus ride to New York. The week prior, I saw everything that was happening in Superman. With the time stopper, whatever the fuck is Doomsday, whatever. I'm just calling him Doomsday. Fuck his other name. Fuck your other name.
Right.
And then I read Justice League Unlimited, and then I see Doomsday pop up and was like, oh my god, something's happening, there's a crisis coming. I was like, oh shit, I can't believe it. For the first time in a while ever, I'm excited for a crisis. What do we think? What do we think?
I fear Perpetua's coming back though.
Oh my boo, yo, listen, sidebar, yo, Perpetua could get this work, bro. Perpetua, yo, she is a baddie, bro. What? Oh my, but continue. My fault. My bad. Go ahead.
I'm happy that we have a plan, right?
Yeah.
That would that these two timelines, the situation hasn't felt like the Golden State Warriors two timelines. That's a little meta joke for those who watch basketball. But I don't. I'm glad they're not interfering with each other as much, right? Like Superman as a title has had room to breathe since everything happened with Darkseid and Absolute. The Absolute Superman has had time to breathe. Now I'm bridging that in with using the Legions to connect both titles. Seems pretty appropriate considering his connection to the Legion. I'm excited to see next week's episode. I think it comes out next week, right? I'm interested to see that conversation with Lantern Girl. I hope somebody has the balls to address that. John used to date her, but you know. But anywho. But no, I mean, like, it is what it is, bro. Like, I mean, Josh is a solid writer. I like it. Like, I don't think I read last month's issue. Just being completely honest, I think I did read it because that's the one where Lex. Well, he was looking for Lex, right? That's what happened.
Lex escaped
this month, right? It's Josh Williamson. He's a proven writer. He's good. I mean, it's a crisis event. I mean, with what's hanging over the DCU right now, it's gonna be a different type of crisis event, and I think that's what I'm interested in seeing the most. And this is a different crisis. I think I'll have more to say after that conversation Clark has with Lantern Girl, Saturn Girl. I think I'll have more to say once they actually have the confrontation with those individuals.
But so AJ, what about you? What do you think about this upcoming crisis, bro?
I'm gonna be honest. I'm waiting to see how more of the Absolute stuff plays out. I want to see, because I'm wondering if that's going to be how they potentially tie both of these universes together. We know it's going to happen eventually, but it almost feels too soon for me. So I'm waiting to see some more of what's going on in it. I'm waiting to see it from the perspective of the Absolute books before I make too much of a decision. Now, I'm always down for a good crisis, I think, because we haven't had one in a while that kind of reshaped the landscape of the universe. And I'm kind of split on whether or not I want that, or do we do something smaller, but it's a crisis in everything but name, right? Like you had like the last big one we had was that Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, but
yeah,
it reset a lot of stuff, but it didn't wipe too much away. I'm wondering because right now we're in this whole everything is canon era, and I think that's been working for DC. Do you really want to do a crisis where some stuff gets wiped away? If anything, I think this might end up being a crisis where, like I said, things get added. I think they're looking at how to combine the Absolute stuff with the main universe. And in theory,
which I hope they don't do.
Right. In theory, I think it sounds good and it could work. I just think it's way too early to do that.
Yeah.
Like we're just now coming up on finishing up year 1. Let me get to like year 3 before you even start considering this yet. So I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'm reserving the right to change my opinion if I think it's not handled well, but also if it is handled well and does good things for them, I'll jump on board more fully. I just don't know enough right now to have anything to feel any one way concretely one way or another right now.
Yeah,
but, I mean it's definitely probably time for one more crisis, Dark Crisis, Infinite Earths. What was that? 3 years ago at this point?
Yeah, just about. And the worst DC event of all time.
Yeah. It was
dog shit. dog shit. Like for me, I'm of two minds with this upcoming crisis. Uh, one
Y'all know what Dark Crisis is about.
we know. Oh, no, listen. I promise you, we're having that
You know.
conversation. So I'm of two minds of this crisis, right? The first one, the bullpen that we have now at DC, is a little stronger to sustain a crisis like this. Because I think Dark Crisis as a whole was a miss because the bullpen wasn't strong. Williamson at that point, I feel like he was kind of tapped out. And yes, Dark Crisis was just a way to not get rid of, but to kind of end the whole 5G future state thing. Yeah, but I think the bullpen now is stronger because what I like with the buildup, it's Wade and it's Williamson, and they're in line. They're in line with each other. Like you feel like this is a cohesive story, and it's not just one person that's carrying the load. No pause. So I like that. Number two, my other mind is that if we are going to do a crisis, I hope it's something that doesn't interrupt what the Absolute books are doing. I hope it's something where just like Absolute Superman, Batman, or whoever, they can continue. Maybe you can do a insert crisis, Absolute Superman tie-in, insert crisis, Absolute Batman tie-in, and so on and so forth. And then when it's time for the lasting effects of the crisis to affect the books, let's do that. I don't want there to be all of a sudden in the middle of my Absolute Superman, oh, insert crisis, part one, part two. No, please no, please no. I think they have a good thing going here with the Absolute books, and it would be stupid to disrupt that, especially this early with the crisis. Now you're telling me I gotta follow the Absolute books, and I gotta follow the mainline books to get this story? No, give me like a off-brand tie-in somewhere, and then maybe down the line, when we have a lot more good energy built up or a lot more goodwill built up, then you could probably cross over the books within the books. But now it's a little bit too early. And I also like that this era, it's continuing what I like post, what is it, Dark Crisis Infinite. Like, bro, all we deal with is dark side shit. For the first time in a while, guys, I don't feel like I'm being beat over the head with concepts that are too high over my head. One part of me is also kind of thinking, all right, bro, is Scott Snyder going to be involved in this or is he not? And if Scott Snyder is going to be involved, is he going to make it complicated for us? Or is he not? Because if he's going to make it complicated, take me out right now. If it's something that works, if it's something that we can all understand, it's not something that's high concept. And
I think Scott has been pretty adamant in saying he just wants to stay in an advisory role.
Oh, okay, good. Say less then. Good.
He wants to help them guys. He doesn't want to. He said when it comes to show running, when it comes to being an architect, that burnt him out. So I don't think he's interested in taking that from Josh or taking that from Wade. Wade deserved this moment. Josh, obviously earned it, for the last few years. Those conversations, like you said, those crossovers, situations. All I really want out of those situations, I really want us to toy around with the main characters meeting each other. Right? I don't care about Mirror Master, crossing over, all of those people, but I when it comes to the Trinity meeting each other, I want that to be an intimate conversation among themselves, bro. I want to see Clark talk to a Clark that got to live with Jor-El and Laura. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see Bruce have that conversation where, like, Bruce was just recently broke, but he wasn't really broke. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. He was like, he wasn't broke, but this Bruce is broke. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? He ain't got that much bread, and I like that conversation. I want to see what Bruce, like mainline Bruce, would react to a guy who's doing and having the gadgets and equipment that he has with less of a budget. And I want to see how Bruce responds to that when he gets back to his timeline, right? Like, damn, I spent all this money for this, and this guy who doesn't have half the resources I have, this version of me, is getting it out the mud. Now, yeah, he cuts niggas' hands off, but and he walks around with a battle axe. But I mean, like, yeah, he's a little more extreme than me, but for the most part, I think I could, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to see Wonder Woman see a version of herself where she's the last Amazon. Cersei is her mother and not Hippolyta. You know, I think those conversations are what I want to see, right? Like I'm really excited about what they could do with Ollie now, with that post from Scott. Like, you know, what commentary, what angle you're gonna take. But I think those conversations need to be flirted around. They don't need to be, oh my God, dark side attack, we all team up. We've seen that 1,000 times. Like kind of let that breathe. Like AJ was saying, give me 3 years of them being separate.
Yeah.
Let's see if this gets old. Cause right, like, so, like, respectfully so. Like, I love Absolute Batman. Don't get me wrong, but I did kind of feel like during the freeze arc, we kind of lost some steam. Right, like I wasn't the biggest fan of the freeze design. If I'm just not glazing anymore, if I'm living with it 3 months into it, I really don't like the direction they took freeze in. But that's also me being somebody conditioned to seeing Batman animated series since I was 5 years old, right? And that's granted. I know his interests. His interests are very much horror bit. I had to take that on a grain of salt. Like, and with Bane, I was worried about how Bane was going to look, but like, fuck it, make him a big ass Majin Buu. Fuck it, I don't care. But I like AJ was saying, I think we need to, if we're gonna have a crisis event, it needs to be 2 separate crisis events. One for the main line, or maybe you do the same thing you did with the All In special. Tell a crisis event that affects both lines, but it's independent.
Oh.
Right? So if you do something like that, that could work. But I think Marvel's about to hit that wall with the Ultimate line right now, because with the success of these topics, these stories, that temptation to merge, like AJ was saying, is gonna always hover around them.
Yeah.
But I don't. Do I really want my mainline Batman to be Absolute Batman, or do I really like Absolute Batman because I got the Batman that I got? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You dig what I'm saying? Like,
no, I hear you.
A more aggressive Batman because I've gotten the Batman. I got a Batman with less baggage. I like, you know, it goes back to what Joker said during the Endgame arc. The Death in the Family arc. Like, you are not the same person you were when we first started this tango. These kids really hold you down for being the best version of you. And you see that best version of him in Absolute Batman. And I think you can have that conversation, and then it'll spark that whole interest that we had from Gotham War. Like, I don't need you guys. You guys kind of hold me back. And then we can kind of have a different take on the reasoning behind him being more set off from the family. You know, there's a lot to do with them being separate and playing off each other. That's why, like, that crossover really needs to be impactful and not just like a cash grab.
Yeah, 100%.
Not just a run of the mill. This is our yearly final crisis. Our, you know, not the final crisis, but the kind of final crisis. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that kind of thing. Like, or has-baked situations like Dark Crisis. But like I said, I think that's the way you should go about that. I don't know how you guys.
Oh, but I mean, yo, KJ said, yo, put Q as DC creative director, because I go hold you, bro. You were cooking. You were cooking. Nah, because I 100% agree. Like, and I think they have enough talent there for them to do a crisis that doesn't directly mesh the books together, but it can affect both lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that way, Williamson and them can still cook, and then Snyder and them can still cook, but it's still connected. So, like, the things that happen on, either side, it kind of reverberates, but not in a way that's, like, ham-fisted.
Like, they need to learn from what's going on with Incursions right now, with Marvel, with Ultimates. Like, because they're not on the same wavelength, So, I think we're learning what happens when you rush crossing these people over.
Yeah.
But I think Marvel's going to be the example for DC. That's why I said just take your time, and the work will be done for you. You know what I'm saying?
And dude, they're seeing so much success. Like, bro, like,
don't let the dollar bills blind you, man. All money, not good money.
All money's not. And you're on something here, because it's like, bro, look at how successful these books are by themselves. You don't need to rush into anything. And here's the best part about what you just said. Here's the best part about what you just said, right? Let's take it from your average comic book reader right now, right? Let's say I'm reading Absolute Superman. Cool. And let's just say they do this potential crisis right, where it's not the books meshed together, but like it affects both books, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is stopping that one person who's reading Absolute Superman from like, you know what? Let me go pick up that actual Superman book if they weren't reading it before, and vice versa, right? Let's just say I'm just reading Williamson's book, and then I'm like, oh, hold on, yo, I like the way they doing this little crisis thing, and then there's like, let me go pick up that Absolute Superman. There's potential for both sides to eat, but in a way that's not hand fist. You see what I'm saying?
All of that sounds great. I don't trust the people because, like you said, like they're likely heading towards a crossover in the Ultimates, and that is not turning out to look like it's working. I hope the folks at DC don't do the same thing, because let's be clear, as soon as the mainline books dip enough, they'll go ahead and say, all right, we need an absolute crossover. And I really don't want that to happen. That's why I hope, we're going to get a little more clarity on both of these companies in a couple weeks with San Diego coming up. I'm just scared about the potential crossover. Like I said, this crisis that's coming up. I like Q's idea of having a single crisis and just seeing it through the viewpoints of both universes. Don't necessarily, smash the toys in the sandbox together at this point. Give us some time. Let the Absolute Universe breathe on its own. Please, I'm begging. Let the main line do what it's doing. It's in a good place right now. I don't think need to do this. It would just feel like you're rushing it to me.
Yeah. We'll see what San Diego brings, and I think that will give us more clarity. But again, on even separately, I think both lines are doing good on their own. Like we got, King is killing it on Wonder Woman, love him or hate him. We got Matt Fraction that's on Batman, that's coming up.
Yep.
We got Williamson on Superman. We got the Trinity handled, and we got the Trinity handled on the Absolute side. Those are like your heavy hitters. So let's keep that good momentum going. And to go back to this crossover, I think with Wade and Williamson, you can do it right. I think Wade has more than enough under his belt, and I think Williamson has more than enough under his belt where they can deliver. And also, there's a creative we're not talking about here. There's a book we're not talking about here. And we know this book is going to play a major role. I don't know if it has happened yet. I still have yet to catch up on it, but it's New Gods.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
New Gods. Okay. We were told right from Ram V's mouth himself. He said at some point we're going to be able to tap. Yep, we're going to be able to tap into the Absolute Universe with that book. So if anything, that's your wild card there too. So fuck it. I said Williamson and Wade. For all we know, this could be a good look for Ram V too. He could be in the mix. Like I 100% suspect that. Yeah. Let's just say they do this crossover or this crisis. Oh, best believe New Gods is getting a tie-in. It seems like this is going to be the glue that's holding it all together. I mean, it is the glue that's holding it all together. This is what New Gods spun out of everything that happened in the All-In special. So, best believe V is paying attention. I mean, wasn't there some Justice League members running around in that book like a month ago?
Last 2 months.
So
it's basically a Justice League arc, basically, what's happening right now.
So
because they basically come to Earth.
Oh, perfect. So there you go. So there's a lot of hidden players in the mix. This is why I always say it's best to let things play out. I know there's a tendency to want things on our time, but look at what's happening with the Absolute Universe and look at what's happening with the main line. I think both are in very strong places.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very, very strong places.